I'm Luke. Today on Auto Darts, we're gonna get rickety wrecked. I've been sitting on this box for a while. This is a box from a company called REKT, who is making CO2-powered blasters aimed at the hobby community. Obviously, this has already been open. I've got their initial offering, which is a pistol-shaped OpSix blaster, as they're calling it. And I'm not sure why we're calling it OpSix. Maybe it's overpowered 6. Either way, let's dive right in. I've held off on making this video for over a year. These were sent to me a while back, so I did receive these for free, so keep that in mind. However, my opinions are my own, no matter what, and we're gonna dive right in. This blaster is powered by 12-gram CO2 cartridges. Now, these are very familiar to me because I come from the paintball world, and when I first started playing paintball, we used a considerable number of blasters that relied on these heavily. You'll also find these in the whipped cream dispensers at places like Starbucks and a few other uses like carbonation machines and things like that, like the what are those things called? The soda stream. That's it. Inside the box, this OpSix package comes with a red and a blue blaster. Darts, we'll get to those. It comes with 4 cartridges, and it comes with some nifty eye protection, which, as usual, does not fit my massive head. That is not a fault of the eye protection itself. It's really just I have a massive head. Side note, when I was in high school, some students were doing tree core samples and circumference, and they charted out the entire school. Guess who had the largest head? Right here. These glasses seem to be actually pretty well made. They look like they say they're impact resistant, they're polycarbonate lenses, and they actually would be pretty comfortable and offer very good protection if my head wasn't so wide that it just wants to rip these off. On that note, I literally can't wear a single face mask that's out there that does this. If it goes behind the ears, it just makes my ears burn all day long. So this is a lot of packaging. Let's start off with that. It is a kind of a massive little drawer system here. If you followed my shop and shopped with us, you'll know that I am not a fan of packaging. We try to use as little as possible and as much recyclable and recycled material as possible. This is a bit excessive. It's like Apple in the early days versus now Apple's sort of going much more minimalist with it. I guess it's all cardboard, but honestly, like, you're not gonna use this after you get going. So I'm not super excited about that. So the OpSix blaster is relatively simple to use. I'm gonna just run over the features. It is obviously shaped very much like a pistol. We're gonna get on that in a minute. There is a safety on the right side of the blaster. It is not ambidextrous. The blaster can be recharged by replacing the cylinder in the bottom. You're just going to unscrew this, pop this open. You're going to insert a cartridge fully, and you're going to close this. And you're going to pierce it as quickly as you can. So now we are charged and we're ready to fire our blasters. This blaster is essentially a Jolt. It comes, I'm gonna fire out some standard elite darts, but one trigger pull, one broken. One trigger pull with the safety not on. That was not the direction I thought it to work. And we fire. So it is basically a Jolt. The operation couldn't be simpler. It's not excessively loud, pretty easy to use. So nothing wrong there. Overall, it functions, it fires, it works with elite darts, and that's about all there is. It's very comfortable to hold, it's got a good grip, the trigger well feels well shaped, and that should be the case because it pretty much looks like a firearm, and that kind of leads to some of my negative points on this blaster. Number one is that this looks like a GUN. No matter how you say it, or how you hack it. These are, of course, brighter colors-ish, but in mixed lighting conditions at a distance, this is going to look like a firearm. It's not going to look like a toy. I don't think these have a place at our games, and I don't think this is a great blaster to play outside in public parks. We play in schools, we play in college campuses, we play in public parks. those 3 venues really are not a good use case for this. Now on your own property or at an arena or in your backyard or even in your house, this is fine. Why not? It's kind of, a fun, simple operation. It's a little difficult to reload because of this sharp muzzle piece. I wish they would have opened this up, made it a little larger and flared it so it would be easier to get your dart in. I find that I do spend some time getting that dart in there. It's a little more difficult than even say like a Jolt because the front of the Jolt's just a little bit easier to access than this. That said, be very careful with blasters like these. Consider strongly where you use them and make sure that if you do bring them to an actual game that they are allowed by your admin. Given that this is powered by CO2, there are restrictions on that depending on where you live and depending on your groups you play with. My next big complaint are these darts. Now, while you can easily just put in elite darts or bamboo darts or whatever type of dart you want to throw in there, such as the Great Adventure Force darts or waffle darts, these are basically FVJs. They're or a full vinyl jacket as people have started calling them. It's a vinyl style tip. It's really hard. I definitely think that if you're playing with these, you better be wearing these. So it's good that they are at least included. That said, I would not recommend using these types of darts. They've got a very tough, hard tip. They definitely don't give and compress as much as the normal ones. So they're going to cause a little more pain when you're getting hit by them. And that leaves me to the next issue, which is the performance. One would think that if you get a CO2 power blaster, you would get a more powerful blaster. That does not seem to be the case with the OpSix, and I, for the life of me, cannot figure out why. It seems like it's a very inefficient design, but these do not perform well. I'm going to put the chronograph numbers up here on the screen rather than guessing at them now, but they are really underperformers, being outperformed by virtually any modded blaster. And that includes things like the obvious Dart Zone Pro Mark II, of course, which only fires short darts. Obviously, this is going to massively beat it out in performance, but even things like our little rocket are going to be faster, and I think you could probably even modify a Jolt to get it above the performance of these blasters, which is a little bit disappointing because you have to pay to play now. It's not a free prime. It's not a, every time you fire, there's a cost associated and waste associated with having these cartridges. So if you're not getting a performance gain, I'm not really sure what you're getting, especially with a single shot blaster. Now, REKT does offer some other blasters that are magazine fed and are repeating blasters so they can fire more rounds, but the performance numbers on those have not been great either, and I think part of this is probably due to efficiency. They want a certain number of shots. I will say it's a little finicky getting at this compartment. It's not as easy as some of the paintball markers I've seen. It would be a little obnoxious to do this in the middle of a game. But what we're going to do is we're going to take elite darts here and we're going to see how many shots we get out of a single cartridge here. And I'm going to try to do my best to pierce this quickly so we get the minimum amount of air leak possible when closing this up. There we go. That sounded better than my last one where a little more air escaped. So we are going to just fire normal shots until we run out of ammo. Now I did drop this one while playing with it, so the end's a little mangled. I don't believe that there should be any difference in performance whether you've got darts in or not, but just for sake of honest comparison, we're going to put darts in it. So here's one shot, again, one shot, 2, 3, 30, 31, 79, 80, 134, 135, just checking the range there, 198, 199, 200. So at 200, so I'm going to shoot. So at 200 shots, I'm going to stop there because at this point, a level shot is going only about 10 feet. So I think your usability and the efficiency is going to depend on how far you want to shoot. In my initial testing, I got actually much lower than I did in the test now, and I think it's how I got that 12 gram in there as quickly as possible to avoid wasting any of the liquid CO2. If that escapes, you're obviously wasting your air pressure. But I think you're looking at maybe 100 shots that are really usable at effective range, and then more if you want to keep playing where you're barely getting to target. Obviously, they have prioritized efficiency over performance because the performance is quite bad, but the number of shots per 12 gram is quite good, at least when you compare it to, say, your average paintball marker that would run on these. And that comes clearly due to the much smaller barrel size in the blaster and the much lighter ammo weight compared to a paintball. Next, I wanted to talk about the price. These come in around $40 a piece. There are a couple different options, I believe. I'm not sure if this dual option is still sold. They're sold as singles. For $40, it really, to me, does not seem like a bargain. There's definitely a place for this. I think if you, say, were someone that wanted to play with these types of blasters, Nerf blasters, dart blasters, and you couldn't handle a prime and you didn't like flywheels, this might be a great option. I could see it being a fun sidearm, but when it comes to our hobby, I think we have far better options available to us. Most recently, I covered the Zinc, which has got, I believe, a 7-round magazine built right in, or you can use larger, and the sizing's not much bigger. This blaster, of course, needs to be primed each time you use it, but you're going to get much, much higher performance out of it as well. The Mark II at $80 is also going to be a lot more competitive in my opinion, especially again considering it has a 6-round internal magazine and can hit 130-ish on short darts, which are more accurate considerably to this. In my testing, these were also fairly inaccurate, mostly due to that, just like a Jolt, you've got very little barrel there to actually align the dart. And then of course you're firing elite darts or even worse, FVJs. In the end, I cannot recommend these other than for very specific purposes. Again, if that's playing with your friend in your house or in your backyard or at a field, that seems like a good option, though personally I would choose something else. I'm going to give these 2 out of 5 stars. It's not that it's a bad product, it just doesn't meet the needs of our hobby in my opinion, and it doesn't really have a place in our hobby. Now this is an open discussion. I am not anti-HPA or anti-CO2-powered blasters by any means. I'm interested in everything that could come around. Everybody likes to play differently, and I think that's the coolest thing about Nerf is that there are so many different ways to enjoy this hobby, whether it's the DIY PVC tinkering of the classic NIC community or the 3D printed hobby that has taken off like crazy, or the traditional modding of electrical blasters like the Strife and spring blasters like the Recon and Retaliator. There's a huge range of ways to play Nerf, ways to modify the blasters, ways to create your own, and that has always fascinated me because I love seeing what other people come up with. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't subscribed already. A shockingly high number of you are not subscribed, but you're getting served my videos. That subscription means a lot to me. We're coming up on 100,000 and it's been a long journey to get here. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, I'm out of darts. Oh my gosh, I literally don't know what this thing is for. This is where we read the manual.